Episode 3 of Furious picks up after Oliver's murder, with Alice trying to calm Mira down. Mira is still holding the knife Jinny forced her to use to cut off her hair, but Alice manages to talk her through it. Before her mother takes her away, Mira mentions a bag Jinny stole and asks for it back. Now at the crime scene, Alice runs into Marshall and is visibly shaken. Nora assigns FBI agent Frank Chow to assist with the investigation, and he immediately starts questioning whether Alice is stable enough to stay on the case. Now Alice has a bit of a panic attack in the bathroom here, but insists she can handle it. Back at FBI headquarters, Alice briefs the team and officially links Adrian, Caleb and Oliver's murders to the same killer. She explains that Caleb and Oliver were friends, while Adrian was seen years earlier kidnapping a young girl in Caleb's stolen Mercedes. Alice believes that girl is their suspect, a former trafficking victim with a poppy tattoo, now hunting the men who abused her. Frank suggests the motive could be money rather than revenge, but Alice disagrees. To her, this looks like someone on a suicide mission. And meanwhile, Becky meets Jinny and hands over the supplies she asked for. Jinny continues manipulating her, and we also learn that her real name is Catherine. By day, Catherine works as a nurse for Alden, a man with muscular dystrophy. He clearly trusts her, and this appears to be one of the few stable parts of her life. At Alden's house, Catherine helps him into bed, then retreats to her room and goes through items stolen from her victims. She later streams online as Miss Mask, watches trauma affirmation videos, and receives a message about her friend Elena, who has gone back to her abusive ex. Concerned, Catherine decides to check on her. Now back at the FBI office, Frank and Marshall find the real Jinny Allen, confirming that Catherine stole her identity. The team then visits a shelter where Alice interviews the residents. When Alice speaks to a woman with a black eye, Marshall is triggered and leaves the room. Alice follows, and Marshall asks if he ever hit her. Alice is stunned that he either doesn't remember or is pretending not to remember the abuse that destroyed her life. Marshall apologises, claims he only remembers fragments, and asks Alice to visit his mother in hospital. He also says he still loves her, but Alice refuses to get pulled back into that conversation. Elsewhere, Catherine visits Elena at a motel being used as a brothel. She urges Elena to leave, but she refuses to do so. When Elena's pimp, Big Man, arrives, Elena hides Catherine under the bed. Big Man then violently attacks Elena, which triggers Catherine and sends her running. The next morning, police find Becky's body in the woods. Alice is unsettled, wondering why Catherine spared Mira but killed Becky. Later, Alice and Nora interview Mira again. Mira can't remember much at first, but eventually recalls that Catherine could not feel pain in her fingers. She also remembers Catherine saying Oliver abused her when she was younger. Mira refuses to help with a sketch, but gives Alice a photo Catherine told her to hand over. The photo shows Oliver Charles, Caleb Easton and Jay Easton posing with two teenage girls. Alice identifies one of them as Isabel Luna and believes the other girl is Catherine. Meanwhile, Alice visits Marshall's mother, who reminds her of her difficult childhood and how she cared for Alice after her own mother abandoned her. For a moment, it explains why Alice is still emotionally tied to this family. But then things turn ugly when Marshall's mother pressures Alice to help him get a promotion. Outside, Marshall follows Alice and asks for forgiveness. However, his real motive quickly becomes clear. He wants Alice to tell his lieutenant that the abuse allegation was false. Alice is absolutely disgusted and leaves, but Marshall chases after her, accuses her of sleeping with Danny, and slams her car door shut. Alice immediately pulls the gun and orders him to go back inside, bringing episode 3 to a tenuous end. So episode 3 gives us a much clearer picture of Catherine, and while she's obviously dangerous, the show does continue to frame her as someone deeply damaged by what was done to her. That obviously doesn't excuse killing Becky, who seems to have been an innocent person caught in the blast radius of Catherine's revenge mission. However, it does make Catherine more complicated than a straightforward serial killer. The photo also seems to confirm the wider abuse ring involving Adrian, Caleb, Oliver, and now possibly Jay Easton. Catherine and Isabel appear to have been victims of these men, and a big question now is whether Isabel really is dead, or whether Catherine is lying for reasons of her own. Alice's storyline is just as heavy here, and Marshall is absolutely infuriating, especially because he either doesn't remember or refuses to fully acknowledge how badly he hurt her. The fact he uses his mother to pull Alice back in, only to ask her to protect his career, makes him even worse. What works well here though is how the episode mirrors Alice and Catherine. Both are women shaped by abuse, but they're moving in very different directions. Alice is trying to hold herself together and work within a system, while Catherine has completely stepped outside of it and taken matters into her own hands. That makes the central question of Furious even more messy, because what happens when a system fails victims so badly, the revenge starts to look like justice. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.